do it that way, but we try.
That's all you can say about all of this, huh?
Yep. So for now, I'm going to put on gallery view just so we can span and
Yeah.
see how many folks are on.
Yeah.
We got 66 participants so far.
Yeah.
And growing.
And Kendall Hall represents 6 people. Ta-da!
Hooray.
Happy birthday, Nancy. You're muted.
Whose birthday is it?
I'm not talking.
Not letting the cat out of the bag, huh?
Must be Hardin's birthday. Yeah.
Okay, Jessica, we're going to let you tell us when you're starting officially or when to start the meeting.
There's 70 folks on, so I think you're good to start. We are recording, and then just remind folks to please keep your mics muted because we hear paper shuffling and those types of things as well. So Diane, take it over.
Okay, thank you. I was saying a little bit earlier, and I'm not sure if I was muted or unmuted, that there are certainly logistics to meeting up in Kendall Hall, but there are with doing Zoom meetings too. I appreciate Ted doing the techie part so that we can have even more residents sitting up in Kendall Hall and seeing this live as we're doing it, rather than just looking at the video later on. But let us begin officially with a moment of quiet, please. Thank you. Jan always gives the first report, but even before she comes on to do that, I wanted to express huge thanks to Jan for the time that she's been leading us through this, coming in the midst of construction and COVID. It has just been a world mostly upside down, and trying to keep our heads up has really been a challenge. But in particular, Jan, I think you earned even more stars in your crown that getting us the vaccines here. I haven't seen so many happy people as I did last Monday when we all went up to Kendall Hall to get our shots. Never have I looked forward to having a needle poked into my arm, but I sure did that day. And we just all really appreciate how you got the shots here, and then how well you and your staff coordinated for us to get our vaccines. I came up the days before that and saw how it was all hands on deck to get those papers processed from all of our residents, because that was a major part of all of this too. And we are very grateful, and we thank you very much. And now you're on the agenda.
Okay, well, thank you, Diane. That was very kind. It took more than just me to make all that happen, but we have an awesome team and they really did work well, and it did go well, and we get to do it again. So hope you are all doing well out there in Zoom land. I hope you no longer have sore arms and you're excited for shot number 2. It will come before we know it. So you will start to hear some guidance from us. You will need to fill out the forms again. We will need to go through all of that. But it went so well the first time around. I have no doubt that it will go well the second time as well. So with a start, I'll give the COVID update. You know, on December 9th, we had our first positive test results for Borden residents. I don't think I will ever forget December 9th as long as I live. It has truly been tough for all of us and not something easy to forget. So I don't want us to forget those that have passed and those that have struggled so much, but we do want to move on in a positive light, and I am sure they would have wanted us to do that as well. So some of the numbers that I wanted to share with you, residents total was 44 that actually were COVID positive in our Borden Health Center. We had 16 deaths, 28 recovered residents, and we are starting to slowly open up Borden now. We had our last 5 residents come off of quarantine on Monday. We are cleaning the place. We are tearing down some plastic and some makeshift barriers, and we are slowly allowing the contractors to get back in there to start moving forward again. We've had a current total of 39 staff members across the campus that have tested positive. 2 staff members were hospitalized, but they are both thankfully recovering at home now. So that's good news for all of us. The other piece of good news is last Thursday, we did our testing, mandatory testing, and we have no positive cases with staff or residents at this point in time. So we hope that Monday, and Thursday of this week will result in the same 0 positives. And at that point, I think that Department of Health will allow us to start to take admissions from the outside starting next Monday. So we're hopeful, we're keeping our fingers crossed. Once COVID entered our building, it was our goal to keep it contained and keep it out of AL and IL. And to date, we have been able to do that, but we continue to manage that and just ask you to continue to be careful. 2 infection control surveys were done. One was done in June in Borden, and the other one was done in December once our outbreak hit. And both were found to have no deficiencies. So we felt very comfortable with the infection control practices that we were using. And actually in June, we were commended for some of those practices, and they felt that it would be helpful to other communities as well. So we were blessed. We were able to keep it out till December, but as hard as we tried, we still were not able to keep it out. So, but we do continue to move forward with some good stuff, and that would bring me to the vaccination clinics. So as you know, on January 11th, we vaccinated 201 residents, all of AL 100%, and right around 95% of our independent living. The second clinic date was January 12th, and we did all the Borden residents that were able to be vaccinated were 24, and we'll have more of those vaccinated with their first dose in February. And we had about 80 staff. So that brings us to clinic dates scheduled for second dose are February 1st and 2nd. Just to note, we did decide after about the first 25 people to hold on to the vaccination cards so that we would be sure that they would show up for vaccine number 2. So for those folks that still have those cards, please do not forget those cards. You have to bring them to the second dose so that we can make sure that folks actually had that first dose. We did receive a report, though, from one of our residents that they had a steroid scheduled, and they got there and asked that it be rescheduled, the healthcare providers. So if you are getting steroid injections, please make sure that you are asking or telling your physician that you have received the first dose of Pfizer, and then they will be able to guide you from there. So for some reason, the steroid injections don't necessarily, I don't think, are a problem, but they would hold off on those injections until after you had a little better immunity with the second COVID dose. So just food for thought. I wanted to put it out there. Someone was kind enough to let us know, and I wanted all of you to know as well. So a big question that has come up for many is why only 50% of the staff got their first doses on January 12th. I don't know that I can truly answer that in the way that all of you want me to answer that. I am sure you would like me to say, I promise you we will get 100% and we will make them do it. But that is quite the contrary. So we have not mandated it, as other Kendalls have not mandated it as well. And a lot of other healthcare providers have not mandated it. We did have some staff that did not take the vaccine because they had recently had COVID and they were told not to do that. So some of those folks are in that bucket. We also had a couple folks that were advised by their physicians to not get the vaccine because of comorbidities. So it's not just all of you that struggle from time to time with comorbidities, but the staff do as well. So we have to honor that as well. So we have three groups of staff. We have the vaccine skeptics, which I don't think we are going to change their mind, but maybe studies showing minimal side effects and high efficacy over time will help to bring those folks more on board. The second group are those with fertility concerns. So I don't think that anybody on this call would probably fall into that bucket, but our staff do. So fertility concerns are still big. Those that are either pregnant now or breastfeeding now or want to get pregnant soon, we've encouraged them to work with their physicians and their healthcare providers to give them the answers that they need. And then the third group is always the cautious group. So those are the ones that are telling us, I'm not going to be the guinea pig, you go first. So many of us did go first, and we are hopeful that we will be able to slide some of those folks over to get their first doses on February 2nd, when CVS will be back to do that. You know, we will continue to work with our staff. We'll continue to answer questions. Dr. Brachero, our medical director, made a video, and we are going to get that out to the staff as well. But it's just going to take some time. I have been on calls with other healthcare organizations, including hospitals, and we are all struggling to get that number up and to get our staff vaccinated. So I hope that kind of gave you an idea of what we're dealing with and what staff are dealing with, and that we will continue. And I invite all of you to continue to have conversations with staff. And as I've said, we are obligated to keep you all protected and safe. And don't be afraid to tell the staff that as well. So you can all help us help them. As far as the stepping out plan, obviously with our high local numbers, and our local numbers still are high, unfortunately, and the COVID outbreak in our Borden Center, we have kind of slowed that stepping out. But good news, the committee is meeting next week, and we are going to start to talk about the what ifs and the how to's probably towards the end of February. So what we've learned with the COVID vaccine is both the first dose and the second dose, day 13 and 14 are when we're seeing the highest protection. So the first shot, we're not quite there yet. To day 13, we will be on Sunday. And then the second shot will be more mid-February. So we are talking as a group about possibly getting a bit more open by the end of February, beginning of March. Little bit of phase 3 update. I really was hopeful that I wouldn't be still giving these, but I am, and I will be for a little while yet. Gordon construction ceased, obviously due to the COVID outbreak, but we are starting to let the contractors back in. We're going to be laying some carpet, putting some ceilings back, and building some additional walls where they need to build those walls and get those kind of things done. Webster, finishing work continues on 4 apartments. I do believe that Miss Judy was successful in getting the Webster kitchen opened and approved by the Department of Health. You want to put that? Yes, there you go. Fantastic. And so that's all good. And they are moving into other areas of Webster. Nielsen's installing the ceiling and flooring in the staff lounge area, the area by the time clock, and the area there between the Webster hallway and double doors and the salon. So it's slow. It's been slow. I don't know. COVID has really slowed us down. Quite a few of the Nielsen staff have had COVID, but they should be returning here in the next week or so. And I just want to thank all of you. You have been terrific. Your support has been phenomenal over the past few weeks and months with all of this. But although we see a light at the end of the tunnel, and we do believe that it is not the train this time, we are still in a pandemic. So we ask that you continue to wear your masks, that you continue to social distance, and that you continue to wash your hands and use smart infection control practices. We are not out of the woods yet, but we are getting there. We are seeing that light for sure. So thanks to all.
I thought right now, right after Jan's report, if some of you had, any of you had a question that you wanted to follow up with Jan, would you lift up your hand, raise your hand so that you can ask her? And Jessica, will you scan the screens and see if there's someone that wants to ask a question?
Diane?
Moved you into gallery view. I see Steve Mick.
Yes. Jan, have management been thinking about incentives for staff who refuse to get the COVID shot? I noticed that Aldi and a number of chains and stores have offered extra,
Pay gift cards.
pay gift cards, things like that.
Yeah, and we have talked about that as a CLT team. We would prefer not to go that direction at this point in time. We would like to have those conversations with our staff, get them to be on board for the right reasons and not just because it's a money card. I've talked with other providers. A lot of the providers are not going that way in healthcare anyways. But that does not mean that that is off the table for sure.
Thank you.
Elaine? You're muted.
Okay. I wonder if we could possibly have a lending closet. I know we would all have to take care of sanitizing what we use before and after we use it, but I don't have a vacuum cleaner or the right equipment to really clean my floors. And I really don't want to have to buy those things. And quite frankly, in my apartment, I wouldn't even have room for them. Is that possible?
No, it is definitely something that we can consider. I'd like more for housekeeping to get back to normal for the independent living residents.
Well, so would we,
I'm
but
sure you would. So, those are part of the things that we continue to talk about as CLT. And like I said, come mid-February, I think that will be definitely something that we can do, if not before. So, I can maybe talk with Diane. We can figure out how we could do something like that. Toss it around.
maybe.
I do have a vacuum cleaner. I can leave it in the hallway. And if anyone wants to come by and borrow it, you could do that. Elaine, come on up and I'll loan it to you.
Well, that's very nice. I mean, I've been using a dust buster and a big sponge, but I was thinking when I was going in the trash room earlier today, well, maybe we could just have something like that in there for people to use. And as I said, I think we would all be responsible about sanitizing it before and after we use it.
Okay,
But thanks,
Sure.
Diane.
thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, if not, we're going to move on to the marketing report. Jessica and her fabulous team.
Yes, I have some double screens going on here because my internet isn't working in my office. I'm on my phone here. So I thought I'd just start a little bit about wrapping up how we wrapped up 2020. So as you know, we didn't have many tours from March on, and no Try It visits. And the Try It visit stays are, one of the best programs that we have. So we are so looking forward to hopefully next couple months somehow being able to open that up again. But when you look at our kind of statistics from last year, almost everything was down between 20 and 30%. So our wait lists were down, our new inquiries were down. And, we did really well with closings. So that was great. And part of that wait list being down is because folks were coming directly in to things that we had a lot available last year. So we were able to meet budget, over 95% occupancy, but we are going into 2021 with, less power than we went into 2020. So we're working on our marketing, implementing our marketing strategy for this year, which will be a little bit different. But the cool thing was our actual attendees of events went up in 2020 because we implemented Zoom events. So we are going to continue those even when our campus does open, because that's a wonderful way for the 50% of folks who move here that don't live around here now. That's a great way to reach them. So that's been a huge success, and we're so happy that we can continue that. Right now we're at about 90, by tomorrow we'll be at 96%. We have the Birches moving into Sycamore Lane. That leaves us a couple cottages on Sunrise Ridge and a cluster cottage, a large cluster cottage that remain unreserved. So we're hopeful that we can get some reservations on those 3 cottages. We also have another cottage on Sunrise Ridge that folks will be closing in about a couple weeks, and then a large apartment for a closing scheduled in May. So we've got a busy couple weeks here, and we are going to be soliciting your input. I hope you can help us. We're going to send you today a 1-question survey. And as I'm trying to wrap up our sort of ad campaign for this year, I want to get your all feedback. And the question would just be, what's something you think we should be telling people? We're trying to convince people to move here. So if you're not happy, you don't have to answer the survey. But if you think, if you want to help us answer this question, we're just looking for your insight in how we wrap up this marketing strategy. So Kevin, if you want to take over and just talk a little bit about our recent inquiry.
Sure. Without the ability to give tours, we've been busy reaching out to our prospects via phone and email. And between Katie, Jessica, and myself, in the last 30 days, we've had over 600 touches with prospects and waitlist members. We have seen an uptick in new inquiries, which is exciting. In the last 30 days, we've sent out 50% more information packets than we do in a typical 30 days. This week in particular, between yesterday and today, I've mailed out 7 brochure packets. That is an unusual number for us. And these are going to brand new prospects who are just beginning their relationship with Kendall at Lexington. And each new prospect in our funnel is potentially a new resident in a year or 2 or 3 or 5. We have a lot of patience, but we need to get more into the funnel every month. And I'm excited that January is off to a good start.
Anything more, Jessica?
No, Diane, thank you.
Thank you. I think that's really interesting, reflecting on the increase of inquiries, probably because people have sat at home and think, So good news, and thank you very much. You've done an awesome job despite all of the handicaps that you've had with your arms tied behind your back. We look forward to the day when we can be more like it was before. Judy Kurtz, I see you on the call. Do you want to make a report? I don't hear anything from her, so we are going to move on. I have quite a few things from Residents Council and other activities on the campus that I want to give you an update on. Jan reported on the vaccines and where we are on all of that, and also on the fact that the Stepping Out Committee is going to meet next week. I think what we need to be doing is doing some forward looking, even though we can't do some of the things that we'd like to. I think we need to try to get our arms around what we can do, given where conditions are in March and April. We're going to have to keep on playing this forward and do some looking with the headlights to see what we can do. One of the topics that came up when Jan and I met is that the governor may still say only meetings of 10, but I said, well, but if we all are vaccinated here on the campus, could we increase the size of gatherings in Kendall Hall so that we could have go back to where we were in September, for instance? And that's to be determined. I think we have to very carefully look at how we move forward. I also said to Jan that I would like to know more about the fact that we are vaccinated, but what about other people who aren't, and can we still carry the coronavirus with other people? Jan is looking for someone who can answer some of these questions. And even then, it may be that we don't know. This is also new to the whole population, that we just don't know some of these kinds of aspects about all of this. So we're just going to keep on walking on the road that we have been walking on and finding out as much as we can as we go along. One of the things that we discussed is getting those nice heaters out, and we've seen them down on the lower patio outside of the new dining room. We'll get those out. Those will in the end be bolted down, but we may try them in some different locations. But we are going to wait until sometime a little bit later in February before those get done. So keep abreast of what's going on. We continue to have our Katie Webb and extra and official notes from administration about what to do. Along those lines, I would like all of you to urge you to look at email at least once a day, or those that don't, to go up to Kendall Hall and check your mailboxes. The notice for the vaccinations came up on short order, and sometimes we had to turn around quickly. So I think do your part, please, in helping as we move along to stay informed here about what's going on. I want to remind you about the file of life papers to turn back in. Those are important to be up to date and on your refrigerator, and for administration to be able to have those. Another item I want to talk about, during the year, we have 4 fundraising appeals to residents. The first one in the year is for the Fellowship Fund, and that's going to be during February that we're going to be having that. This is a fund that Kendall has and was essential when we first filed for the 501c3. This is a fund that in case someone runs out of money, that it can be used so that someone who's qualified does not need to be leaving Kendall. And we are keeping on growing that, and some of that is being used, but we ask all of you to help us with that. The second fundraiser and the fourth, during the year are for this Staff Appreciation Fund. And may I say, you have been awesome in contributing to that in this past year. It really makes me have a sense of community of how we're all working together. And the third one will be in late summer. Residents Association and all of the committees and so on is self-funded by residents. So we will be asking you at that to put more money into the kitty so that we can have continue. Someone isn't muted. Be sure you're muted if you would, please. Resident Council met last week, the first meeting of the new year, and everyone stepped up to the plate while doing some of the jobs that we kind of tasked as the responsibilities of Resident Council. And I'd like to say that one of the things that we're going to be doing in this coming year is looking at revising, updating the Red Book. Now that we have Katie Webb, we would like to, if we can, get the Red Book searchable, a searchable document up on Katie, so that if you have a question, you can just hit that word and you'd be able to find that in the Red Book. So we're not going to do that right away, but that is on the agenda for this coming year. Another thing that's going on, I noticed that your committees are meeting, and thank you. I think that's great that all of the committees are carrying on with the work of their committees. That's what really keeps us going. We are a resident-driven community, and we want to have as many people as possible engaged in the committee. So good for you. And overlapping that, we have the implementation of the strategic plan and some of those working groups. In particular, the Horticulture Committee met yesterday, and then one of the things they look at is ongoing, but also looking to the future. As you all know, we're looking at major planning for the land use and some of the landscape architecture on the campus. And that also overlaps with the Wellness Committee, and they have an outdoor group. So several of the committees are overlapping or intertwining with the implementation of the strategic plan. We have another group that is involved in looking at inside and outside spaces, the look and feel part of the strategic plan. And that's interesting too. So we will be keeping you abreast of that as we move on through. The meeting of the strategic plan implementation group in community engagement had an interesting discussion in the early part of January. And out of that came a discussion about having, it's time for us to form a new committee here on the campus. That committee would be involved in volunteer engagement. A lot of people would like to volunteer, mentor maybe, in the broader or in the bigger Rockbridge community, or maybe even here on the campus. We've had people who've been wonderful volunteers in the Borden and Webster Center back when we could. So we have indeed formed a new committee, and for now we're calling it volunteer engagement. We met yesterday and had the first meeting, and we are going to continue going forward. There's a few things to put into place. What are the volunteer opportunities? How do we communicate and find out, doing the links between those who would like to volunteer, or to even find out what there are in volunteer opportunities, and then helping them make the link with that organization or entity or person in order to volunteer. So you will start seeing more information as that starts growing. A little bit later on the agenda, you are going to hear John South talk about the opportunity, another new committee too. This one is Katie Webb Committee. But right now, I'm going to turn to Bruce King, who is going to talk about the Facilities Committee. Bruce?
Hi, little technical glitch there. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Well, I'm Bruce King, convener of the Facilities Committee, brand new. Wanted to bring you up to date on some of the things we're working on. And my days of being able to talk off the top of my head are long gone, so I'm going to read a bit. I just have to remind myself, and it's good for the committee and you folks too, to know what we are supposed to be doing. And I looked in documentation, and our committee is supposed to deal with suggestions and concerns about Kendall Physical Plant and the campus primarily, which also includes apartments and cottages, our residences. We all know that this is great that we have these committees, that we have a chance to have input into how things run around here. It's just great. That's one of the attractions that we felt in coming here. And the facilities are so foundational, aren't they, to our safety and security and comfort. So we're trying to get the most out of our time together. How do we deal with suggestions and concerns about physical plant in our campus? Primarily, we work with our Director of Operations, Herbie, and he brings us up to date on what the status is. A lot on work orders submitted and completed, some on renovations and new construction. Our discussions are mostly driven by the work order system. And those are work orders that you submit. And also our members of the committee bring questions and concerns about the facilities to our attention at each meeting, and Herbie addresses those. But some things have changed, and the picture I have in my mind, and yet another way of looking at this, we do, as you know, we think in pictures. We got the train, or rather the light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully, as Jan said, it's not a train this time. I began to think about it in terms of the Wizard of Oz. And I remember that Dorothy's life was literally upended when a cyclone came through and she found herself in some strange place. And thanks to COVID and the new construction, which was a big thing in and of itself, I think I would call, we have a new cyclone. And as Dorothy said to her dog, we're not in Kansas anymore. So things have changed. And things that we took for granted have had to be changed or temporarily suspended because staff has to concentrate on keeping us safe from this horrible disease, primarily. And they have been infected by the disease as well, of course. That has to be job one, we all know that. So formally, routine matters, like routine maintenance, have understandably had to wait a little bit in some cases, and we're acutely aware of how stressful all this has been for all of us, and especially the dedicated staff and management. So how do we stay on the yellow brick road and get back to Kansas? Sorry about this, but it works for me. What can we do to help? I just wanted to mention a few things. And when I say we, I mean you folks, all residents, and also our committee. I'll talk about that just briefly and tell you what we're up to. Number one is to be patient. Things that used to happen like clockwork now are being understandably delayed for a while in some cases. Example, in our place, we have a HVAC return filter in our cottage that gets clogged and it needs changing regularly. Until recently it was changed regularly, but now it isn't. Well, I think it's probably for reasons like staff's being stretched really thin. And as importantly, management wants to keep us safe by reducing in-home work. So visitations to change this thing as filters have to wait. But I wanted to say that if your filter needs changing, from our perspective, it's okay if you go online to WorkSub and submit a work order. You might be like me and say, well, you know, I don't want to make any waves right now because we know everybody's right up to their eyeballs. on staff, and they don't need any more problems. But that's how the system is managed. So it's okay if you fill out a work order. And I'll mention something more about routine things in a minute. But what if you have an emergency? We discussed this at the last meeting. Say your heat goes out in the middle of the night. Herbie has done a nice thing, I think, and it's taken it on his shoulders primarily. He has an emergency only hotline. I think you might have seen this in our various publications. There is a number you can call. He actually literally has the phone with him all the time. But as he reminded us and others have, this is not for things other than true emergencies. If it can wait, proper thing to do is, like the doctor might have told you a long time ago, call me in the morning. And make a work order out in the morning, really. Don't call him on that line. It's only for emergencies, like say the heat goes out or something like that. But our committee and Herbie are beginning to give more focus to preventive maintenance. And why is that? Well, part of it is because I spent a lot of time in my career doing it, and I concentrate on anticipating problems before they happen. And part of it is we know that we're not in Kansas anymore right now, and things are piling up a little bit. Preventive maintenance isn't getting done. But why should we worry about it? Well, it prevents emergencies, like when somebody's air conditioning quits during a hot spell, or maybe, again, your heating goes out in the middle of the night or on a weekend. Emergencies can lead to unintended, diminished safety, security, and comfort right now, and you can't wait. You get the picture. So the committee started working with Herbie to quantify what routine preventive maintenance there is out there. We're concentrating on members' residents now. Because Herbie's very busy, some of the committee has been beginning to develop a detailed database of things that need routine maintenance. Like we've already, a couple of us been working on it for the cottages up here on the ridge. We're now moving into other areas, and maybe some of you will be asked to have input on that. Things that you think should be maintained in your residence. We'll make a database of that and pass it on to Herbie. He takes over from there. Our committee's not to see how these things are done, taken care of, but we did think, given everything that's on his plate and others, we could help out maybe to start this thing. Again, with the idea that this isn't going to be taken care of tomorrow. So until we get back to Kansas or out of the tunnel, things have to wait. But a few examples of what we're talking about, just so you know, is replacing smoke and motion detector batteries. A lot of things are battery powered. Replace a whole host of appliance and air handling filters. Someone mentioned the clothes dryer exhaust fans. Those can be a danger if you don't periodically, or I say fans, if you don't periodically clean that thing that comes out of the back end of the dryer and ultimately expels air outside. So when we come to the end of the light at the end of the tunnel, we all hope for, when you find ourselves like Dorothy and Toto back in Kansas, so to speak, we no doubt will have deficits of facilities work that hasn't been addressed, again, understandably, totally. We hope that this assessment will lead to what work has been delayed, how many work hours is involved, because those are not infinite, as you know. There are restraints on work hours, and how many work hours will be needed to maintain new areas like Sunrise Ridge and Borden? How will priorities be set? How are they going to be budget impacts, or if any? This is why we need to enlarge the committee's focus and work on quantifying all the needs, not just the work orders. We've been driven pretty much by work orders, and we still will be. But we want to enter into the picture this preventive maintenance stuff, which is piling up now, and will need to be addressed when we get back to Kansas. When that pandemic is in our rearview mirror, won't that be wonderful? When staffing permits. And there'll be a need for staff to assess and make action plans based on these outstanding work orders and the maintenance database that's we are beginning to develop and will continue to. So in summary, this project's important for reasons that safety, security, and comfort. That is expanding our interest into preventive maintenance. And as this list gets completed, staff will know what needs to be done and when to schedule it and how many work hours will be needed. It's going to take a while, but it'll be worth our time and effort, don't you think? That concludes my report. If you have any questions.
Okay, let's hold those to the end. Thank you very much, Bruce, for that in-depth report from your committee. We appreciate all the work that you're doing and looking forward to doing as we go down that yellow brick road. Now for a report from a committee that's just coming together, the new Katie Webb committee. I'm going to turn to John South, please.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right, well, I'll try to be brief. You know that we've been working on Katie Webb for a while, and we started almost a year ago with the initial investigation centered around communication. And now we've gotten far enough so that we think we need to have broader involvement in the community and staff. So a group of 6 of us met yesterday to kind of define what the mission or the role of this new committee might be. And this was a group selected because we were all relatively frequent users of Katie Webb already. So we have a basis of knowledge. And we came up with the organizing session was just to define what it is we think our role should be. And the role that we came up with, we defined as our role is to assure that Katie Webb is a successful and continuing resource for our community. It doesn't get into all the nits and gnats. That's the sort of thing that Bruce has already reported on for facilities, but it sets an overall goal. We have a few things that are high on the agenda right now, but before we get into those, we need a lot of hands-on to make sure that we're addressing the issues that are important to residents. So now that we have this new committee, we'd like to invite people to participate in this meeting, in this committee. And I want to emphasize that participation, you do not have to be a computer geek to help make this a success. It's important there are things that, for people who like to do stuff, there are hands-on things to do, but there's also things for people that can give us a sense of what the landscape is and where we got to be putting our attention and in what priority. And I think it helps me to think of this as being comparable in some ways to other committees. I would mention, for example, that you don't need to be a librarian to contribute and help out with the library committee. You don't need to be a master gardener to contribute to the horticulture committee. You don't need to be a gourmet cook to contribute to the food committee. And all you need to do to contribute to Katie Webb is want to help make it a success. So I invite you to, if you're interested in knowing more, please give me a call. My number's on Katie Webb and on the various directories around. And if you have a pencil, you want to write it down, it's 540-308-5342, or my email, which is johnsouth@mac.com. That's
Thanks,
it.
John. I'd like to add that because of the committee, Katie, and strategic plan, one of the things we hope to accomplish very soon is to get a kiosk in the lobby area so that people who want to look up a book or to know a little bit more about what some of the different programs are that are going to be on there, that they're going to be able to access those even if they don't have a computer. That is down the road a little bit. We're still looking into that. And we're also hoping that we can get our TV channel updated. We had one that when I first moved here 7.5 years ago, there was a scroll on the TV channel in people's residences. We would like to be able to see what we could do on that. I'm going to be talking to a resident at Ithaca and to see how they're doing it. one of the things that I have found a real joy this year is we've had some Zoom calls with the presidents of the resident councils, resident association of the different Kendall affiliates. It's really interesting to know what they're doing. I know Jan and other department heads have Zoom calls with their counterparts in the other affiliates, but this is the first time that on the residence level that we've been doing it. We all really enjoy the calls and learn a lot, get good ideas. So I'll be doing that this Saturday and having a call. Now, Bill Fulton let me know today that he wanted to give an update, and I'm not quite sure what it is, Bill, but you're on.
Oh, thank you, Diane. Well, I have spent some time looking with others, other vehicles around here. And I talked to the Virginia Department of Transportation. I talked to the Rockbridge County Sheriff's Department and also the Lexington Police Department. And they notified me that one of the vehicles around here was unlicensed. And I was very surprised with that, but they told me that if we could license one of the vehicles, we would be in compliance. So this is the new license plate that I'm going to give to Jessica today for Kenny. That's my report. Thank you.
Hey, Bill, tell people what Kenny is. Some may not know.
Well, sorry, Jessica, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
No problem.
I just saw this on the computer and I thought this would be fun. I'm sure Herbie's not going to like it because he's going to have to drill a hole, I suppose. But why don't you explain what Kenny is and how the name came about? Because I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, you all have seen our wonderful new golf cart that we got to give people tours just as our tours kind of shut down, but we were able to use it a little bit. And Ted Burrows actually said, well, what are you going to name it? So we did a survey of ideas, sending us ideas of what they wanted to name it. And Kenny was actually brought up a few times. So Kenny, short for Kendall. So we really loved that name. So even if Kenny didn't win, I think I would have just, lied and said Kenny won because I thought it was such a cute name. but it did honestly win. So thank you so much, Bill. That's really great.
Yeah, well, glad to do it, and I hope it works. That's all, Diane.
Thank you. That was a very nice gift. Very thoughtful and doing your research on all of that too.
Thank you.
Judy, I called on you earlier and I think you might have been off screen for the moment. You want to give her an update?
Yes, I'm sorry I missed my time slot here. Just a couple of housekeeping kits. Notes. The kitchen extension is 2620. If you have any issues or concerns with your meal delivery, I do not. It may appear that way, but I am not here 7 days a week to answer my phone. And the kitchen is manned 7 days a week. So if you have any concerns, please call them directly. I feel like a compass rose as we're going into the planning stage. I'm not quite sure which way I'm supposed to go, but we'll figure that out as we go along. Staffing, of course, as usual, is an issue. I hope you noticed two things. Well, one thing on the menu, the new menu cycle that went out, we are offering a soup and salad. Someone up on Sunrise Ridge suggested it. I thought it would be a good idea. See what comes out of it. It is a garden salad. We're not putting protein on it, so that would be something you provide yourself. And if you could let me know, upstairs where you have your mailboxes, on the bottom left of the wooden mailboxes is the menu slot drop. You can keep notes on your menus weekly and drop them off at the end of the cycle. We do use those comments, suggestions in place of our comment cards since we don't have those anymore. And I think we probably got about 20 menus back the last time around. And we do use them in food committee. Positive, negative suggestions, keep them coming. If I can fix it, I'll fix it. And if I can't, then we'll figure out a way to change it up. So those are my 4 little things, and hopefully we'll be rocking and rolling soon.
Judy, we thank you. I was delighted to see that soup and salad. How many people took up that opportunity?
Today is the first day, and we have 11 soup and salads going out, except one resident does not want soup.
Okay. Are there
So-
any questions of anything that you have heard today before we adjourn? Ted, is that your hand?
Yeah, we have one here in Kendall Hall. Just
All
come
right.
up. You'll have to come here for them to hear you.
Do I talk right into this? Okay. Hi, I'm Gordon Baker. I just have a question about the salads. I think it's a great idea to do the soup and salad option. It certainly would please me. However, if you're doing just soup and salad, I think the salad would have to be a little bit bigger than a standard salad that goes on a plate.
Yes,
Does that-
Gordon, you're correct. What you typically get on a daily salad add-on is a 6x6 container. You'll be getting the 8x8 clear container.
I
So
couldn't
it'll
tell.
be a larger salad.
It would be larger.
Okay, that's all I wanted. Thank you.
Any of the rest of you?
Thank you, Gordon.
Any other questions?
Pardon?
I have a question or a concern, Diane, and I've raised this with Jan, and she did not think there was an answer that would at least resolve my concern. You said early on that we are now all vaccinated. We're not. There are at least 5% of the residents who are not vaccinated, but none of us, except a one who is not, knows who's not and who is. And until we know more about how this virus works, I'm reluctant to, with restrictions reduced, to interface with a lot of people if I don't know for sure that they have been vaccinated, or if I have a question about whether they've not been vaccinated. It even increases with staff of roughly 50% of whom have not been vaccinated. When people are sent back to residences to clean, I would not want a non-vaccinated person to come in and do that work. I don't know what the answer is. One answer seems to me, at least for the residents, is to invite the residents who opted not to be vaccinated to tell us who they are so we know. I mean, Jan says we can't compel anybody to do it because it's medical. I'm not sure that I agree with that answer, but that's the administration's position right now. I don't know what we do about this, but I think until we know more about the transferability of virus, I would like, frankly, to know who is not vaccinated.
Arden, I can understand wanting to know, and I can absolutely understand from Jan's perspective, she really can't because of HIPAA rules. And I will say that, yeah, we are concerned and we don't know. I think you have the right, if you're going to sit down with someone at a dinner table, to ask them if they have been vaccinated or not, and then you make your decision. And I do think that all of us would like to know that everyone is vaccinated. And I think it is a road we don't know. That's why I think it would be helpful for us to have someone come in and tell us a little bit more about how someone might be contagious or not, or be able to carry it or whatever. there's just a lot we don't know.
Hey, Diane,
Yes.
I think the effort to get Kendall community guidance out, maybe around the time we have our second vaccination, is a really good idea. So I support that. But let me say here that I think the public health guidance on this is getting pretty clear, which is something like, I'm not an authority, right? But I try to stay on top of it. We will be mostly protected from getting the disease, but we will not be protected from getting infected, which means we can infect others.
Yeah.
So I think the public health guidance is to be, keep on wearing those masks and keep on kind of a high level of personal hygiene to continue to protect others until advised otherwise. Staff, visitors, unvaccinated residents, whoever. So that's my understanding.
Okay.
I would like, though, to know for sure that HIPAA prevents other people from knowing who is and who is not vaccinated. I mean, those of us who were vaccinated did it publicly. We were in a line with other people. We don't know everybody who was in that line, but it was not like it was an act of privacy. It's not like going to your doctor's office where you and the doctor consult about whatever the issue is, and those records and the diagnosis or the prognosis are not available under HIPAA. Maybe HIPAA says that people who are not vaccinated can't be required to disclose that fact, but it's a fact that they are not treating something as opposed to getting the treatment that others have got.
Don't know, Hardin. I hope that, I do believe that there's some reasons, even for residents, that they may have other issues going on and cannot, but I certainly hope that if a person does have the ability to get the vaccination, they'll consider getting it in the second round. We are a community together. And I think by our mutual looking out for each other, we take the responsibility to be vaccinated.
Well, I wouldn't care about the underlying issues. That if a person has reasons for not getting that are medical, I'm not entitled to know that. All I'm asking is to be a way to know who is and who isn't,
Okay, well,
not the why.
all right, we'll look into it. Is there anyone else that has a question or concern? Okay, Barbara.
Tell me more about the salad and soup. That's the first I've heard. How does that work, or where can I figure it out?
So Barb, on the menu this past cycle on your Survey Monkey, you had your main, you had your vegetarian, and there was also an option for soup and salad.
Okay, I just missed that. All right, thank you, I got it. I'll look for it.
If you want to make any changes, give me a call.
Well, this one's about to run out. We'll soon make a new one, right?
We're starting the new one today for 2 weeks.
Okay, that's worked.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, I don't see anything else. I thank you. Let's keep on being a community together, looking out for each other. I think that everyone has done a great job on looking out, being responsible to keep on practicing safe things, even though we don't like how we're doing it. And we thank our administration for helping us so well. It's going to get better. Thank you very much. Bye.